Okay, so the story so far, we got the box, got the backs on, got all the dividers in, have it all dressed and cleaned and sanded out as best as going to happen. Now, before I start putting finishes on this, I need to put feet on. 4 little feet. This is a pine foot, but it's a foot, like I want to use. Now, when I set this thing, I want to set it so that the outside edge of this part of the shoulder and the face of this line up with this and the outside edge. So it'll go like that, sticking out a little bit on the outside edge, sticking out a little bit on the front, like that. 4 of those. They're tiny. They're a little dot of glue, and speaking of little dot of glue, a little teeny dot of glue right there. More than a dot, but that took care of it. Anyway, so a little dot of glue and a nail, bing bing, like that, and they'll have a foot. Need 4 of these for each piece. I need, therefore it's 4 times 6, 24 of them for this, the cherry ones, and we need 16 of them in Papa to be painted. It could be anything in painted, but Papa, we're using Papa. We're going to keep it consistent. So that's the drill. I've got this thing I want to make. Now, what I've started doing, you're going to watch some of, is I've got some boards, the right thickness, and I've run them through my router set up upside down a piece of wood like a shaper, and I've run them through. I have to run them through on all 4 sides, and they have to be small. So what I'm going to do is do it in stages. First I'm going to run the board through, then I'm going to cut that piece off like this one's been cut off, then I'm going to run this through, then I'm going to run the end through, then I'm going to cut it, and then come up with a little jig to hold it each time. So I'm going to do each process, and the jigs to hold it to keep my fingers from having to get too close. That's the trick. It's not doing the work, it's keeping your fingers, so to speak, out of the way. And you'll watch. It'll be fun. And it won't be your fingers no matter what. So it'll be okay. I slice these off, and I'm feeling for a little bit of chips from the saw. It's all good. All right, so I'll show you how we're doing this little by little. Come on over here. All right, I think this will work out to a reasonable look. Watch your ears, mind the noise. So I've got these 2 cut, 1 cut. I've done the end grain. I'm going to cut them now and then do the end grain on the other side. The end grain is the most dangerous because it catches the most. And then I'll deal with the running grain. So let me go cut these and bring the pieces back, and we'll chop the pieces. Okay, so I've got the piece chopped off. So I've got it molded on one side, and I want to hold it and mold it on the other side. Problem is I don't want my fingers to get too close. So I've got a stick and a stick. They're just sticks, right? I'm going to hold it on, pressing it in with this one, moving it forward with that end right there. So this is my forward part, and just to make sure that something doesn't happen, I'm going to hold it down with this one. This is my hold it down part, and let's see what happens. I'm going to get this backed up a little bit, and we'll kick it on. I get a little 220 sandpaper, and I'm going to sand the length of this, which is cross grain, which would be, typically woodworking, working across the grain, the end grain is usually the hardest part. That's usually where the most things that can go wrong will go wrong. Anyway, so there's that. pretty darn nice. Cleaned up really pretty darn well. Got a couple of them to clean up. I'm good. And I think what I'm going to do is continue doing this, producing these end grain pieces until it's time to switch over to start doing the running grain, and then chopping them into the littlest of pieces and coming up with another little gimmick to hold the little teeniest pieces in there and get them lined up right so that they go through. It'll be a little bit, much the same, but a little bit different. We'll see what that's like. The trick with all of this is to get the best, most consistent profile on the stock, and try real hard to avoid taking too much off the fingers. It happens. I mean, we're making a joke, but the even better is just having to, even the ruining the piece when it flies up in the air, and worse, even the worst is when it flies up in the air and causes this to move, and so you end up having to reset every blessed thing to get it to work again. It's a lot easier to face doing it if it hasn't somehow screwed up once already, I guess, is the trick. So these three are good. I need 6 boxes. There should be enough. I need 4 out of each of these sticks, which is enough. I should be able to get 4 pieces out of each of those, so that means I need 6 of those sticks. I'm a big boy, I can do this. So this is cleaning up. Again, typically, if you've done any woodworking, you know that the end grains are the most challenging. Not just with your tooling, but with your finishing, your sanding, all of that. Chipping little feathers from the saw. These were also tiny, so I'm not saying no one's ever going to care, but probably more time and effort is going to be spent playing with the drawers and fondling the feet. But still, let's do a good job. So 2 more to go, and then I'll go cut these, and we'll do it again. It'll be great. And the switch is here. Well, anyway, okay, that's done. We'll go cut these on the table saw, and then bring the pieces back. I need, I need 24 cherry ones. I think I'll make a little extra, just to be on the safe side. See you in a minute. So that's all done. These were all profiled, both ends, both sides. Now I have to clean up the ends to make a pass. Probably chop my little chop saw. Prepare the ends. Probably do both ends at the same time. Cut down on how many times I have to go back and forth. And then I need to make some sort of a thing that I can run through this way that will hold them square that way, provide a little bit of safety. It could be something not much more than that, maybe with a little lip on this thing to hold it down and just run it through like that. It'll mean that the edge of this will have to get molded like that, but once that's done, it'll be done. Maybe it's something a little bit wider, although that's not terribly important either. Yeah, I think I'm just going to put a little lip in this, halfway, and clean up the ends and see what that looks like. Bring it back. Okay, here we go. I've got my pieces all cut. I've got this little piece that I'm going to use as a holder. It's nothing special, right? It goes on top. It is a little bit uphill, so it puts pressure down. It's square. It's right up against that, so it doesn't move. I'm in good control, holding this piece in and run it across. Let's see what happens. I'm getting the feeling I'm making these things a little bit crooked. I'm getting the feeling this is not holding them really square. Which, you know, those are two feelings that, you know, I'm not sure you could take to the bank. And when I do it, when I flip it around, it's okay, this thing's not right. Let me fix this. I'll be back. I think I was just a little careless when I cut that. We'll see what happens now. These weren't, I mean, they're not any good. They're not square. None of them is square. I'm going to do them all over again. Be back in a second. All right, let's try this again. They just weren't square, and there's no point in starting out with something that's flawed. Because when I get to the other side, if they're not square, it's going to start looking. Okay, let's try it again. Well, that took a little teeny bit longer than I wanted to get straightened out, but once it did, I was producing them and they were coming out nice. They were coming out just fine. I'm real pleased. So now I need to set the saw up and start chopping little pieces off the ends of these things, both ends, and setting them aside, then doing this whole thing again with pieces that long. And then it'll be the challenging part of getting that little block through. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. I guess, you know, probably put a little, I don't know, be nice to get a little piece of wood that I could have here attached to something and I could just put a little bit of pressure on and run it through. I'll see what I can do about that. But let's get these things cut, the rest of these things run through, and then we'll be back. Catch ya. Well, under the heading, I'm pretty pleased with myself. Here we go, right? So this is my little holder, my little block. And, you know, it's as simple as that. It came out just fine. So I only have to do, you know, 39 more of these. But, so here the trick obviously is holding it down snugly so that it doesn't wiggle. Because wiggling, it makes for fear. So holding it down, I'm pressing down on it because this is cut out is a little bit less than the thickness of that. So when I press down on this thing, it holds this in place. Push it up against the fence because that's where it wants to go. I've got my finger right there, which is pressing it back this way so that it's against the shoulder that I've cut here, which means it isn't going to wiggle. And run it through like that, ba-bing, and out. And there it is. A couple more to make, but it's working fine. It's working just fine. I'm real pleased. So, thanks for watching. We'll get the rest of these done and I'll bring you in later.